Imagine that after a lifetime of working, you finally got to have a $3,000 salary. You are the happiest person in the world, you can satisfy more whims, buy a new car, and go to work happy. But imagine that suddenly, that $3,000 a month becomes $200. It would be a tragedy. Well, this is exactly what is happening in the world of real estate. And even if at first glance it doesn't seem like it, it will be much worse than a pay cut. Even if you're not realizing it, there are signs everywhere of this catastrophic crisis that will affect the entire world, and it will be much worse than the housing crisis of 2008. The 2008 one will seem like a dress rehearsal, and before you think I'm exaggerating, I'll show you exactly why this is coming and what it means for you. Whether you're a homeowner, a renter, or someone dreaming of buying a house, this will affect you. But don't worry, I won't just leave you hanging. I'll also show you how you can not only survive, but actually thrive during this crash. So what are you waiting for by hitting the subscribe button below? Let's dive in. Let's start by rewinding to 2008, because to understand where we're going, we need to see where we've been. Picture this, the early 2000s. Everyone and their dog is buying a house. If you had a pulse, you could get a mortgage. Banks were practically throwing money at people who had no way of paying it back. These subprime mortgages, basically loans for people who couldn't afford them, were bundled together and sold as safe investments. It was a giant game of musical chairs, and when the music stopped, everything came crashing down. Millions of people lost their homes, jobs vanished, and banks crumbled. It was chaos. But here's the thing, it didn't come out of nowhere. The warning signs were there and most people ignored them. Sound familiar? Now let's talk about today, or more specifically, 2025. Why do I think we're heading for another crash, and one that could be even worse? Because all the pieces are falling into place. First, let's talk about interest rates. Right now, mortgage rates are soaring, hitting levels we haven't seen in over 2 decades. If you're thinking, big deal, so what? Let me break it down for you. When mortgage rates go up, monthly payments get more expensive. A lot more expensive. Imagine this. You're looking at a home that costs $400,000. At a 3% interest rate, your monthly payment might be around $1,700. But at 7%, that same house costs you over $2,600 a month. That's like buying the same pizza but paying double just because inflation spiked the price of cheese. Now, think about this on a massive scale. Buyers are dropping out of the market because they simply can't afford these payments. Demand falls. And what happens next? Prices start to drop. Now, here's the twist. While most people panic during a crash, the rich see opportunity. Why? Because they understand one simple truth. Wealth is built in a crisis. Let me paint you a picture. When the market crashes, home prices plummet. What happens next? Cash buyers, people with money to spare, swoop in and start buying properties at a discount. Imagine walking into a store and seeing a sign that says, "Everything 50% off." That's how the rich see a housing crash. In 2008, big players like Blackstone and other private equity firms bought up thousands of homes at bargain prices. They turned them into rental properties and made a killing. And guess what? They're getting ready to do it again. And think that they did it even without subscribing to this channel. Imagine what a huge advantage you have if you subscribe now. If you're wondering how we ended up here, it all boils down to a few key factors. Rising rates. We already talked about this, but it's worth repeating. High mortgage rates choke off demand, plain and simple. Inflation. Everything costs more these days. Groceries, gas, you name it. People have less disposable income, which means fewer folks are willing to stretch their budgets for a new home. Supply chain woes. Remember during the pandemic when toilet paper was impossible to find? The same thing is happening in housing. Builders can't keep up with demand because of high material costs and labor shortages. Speculation. The market has been so hot for so long that people started treating homes like lottery tickets, thinking prices would just keep going up forever. Spoiler alert, they won't. Now, here's where things get really scary. In 2008, the problem was mostly subprime mortgages. Today, it's much bigger. One of the biggest red flags? The yield curve. Don't let the fancy term scare you. It's basically a way to measure what investors think about the future of the economy. When the yield curve inverts, which it has, recessions almost always follow. It's like a flashing neon sign saying, "Trouble ahead." Another issue, Corporate real estate. During the pandemic, remote work became the norm. Office spaces emptied out, and many still haven't recovered. Companies that own these buildings are now sitting on massive debt while their tenants disappear. It's a ticking time bomb, and when it blows, it'll hit the banking system hard. But what does this mean for you? Now that we've covered the doom and gloom, let's talk about you. Yes, you. What can you do to not just survive, but actually come out ahead when this crash hits? Here's the game plan. Save cash. Like your life depends on it. During a crash, cash is king. The more you have saved, the more opportunities you'll have to scoop up deals when prices drop. Think of it like waiting for a Black Friday sale, but on houses instead of flat-screen TVs. Invest smartly. If you've been eyeing real estate, wait for the crash to hit. When prices bottom out, that's your chance to buy. But don't just buy anything. Focus on properties in areas with strong rental demand. Even during a downturn, people need places to live. Lock in low rates. If you already own a home and haven't refinanced, now's the time to lock in a fixed-rate mortgage. Adjustable rates might seem tempting, but they're a gamble you don't want to take. Learn from the rich. Remember, the wealthy see crises as opportunities. Use this time to educate yourself. Read up on real estate investing, learn about market trends, and prepare to take action. Think of the housing market like a grocery store. Right now, everything is overpriced. Milk is $10 a gallon, bread is $7 a loaf, and you're wondering how anyone can afford to eat. But what if you knew a massive sale was coming in 6 months? You'd hold off on stocking your pantry, right? That's exactly what you should be doing in real estate. Be patient. The crash is coming, and when it does, you'll be able to fill your cart for half the price. It's literally an opportunity in chaos. Here's the thing, my friend. A housing crash might sound scary, but it's not the end of the world. In fact, it could be the beginning of something great, if you're prepared. The key is to stay calm, stay informed, and stay ready. History has shown us that every crash is followed by a recovery, and those who take action during the downturn are the ones who come out on top. So, let me ask you, are you ready to turn this crisis into an opportunity? Are you ready to think like the rich and seize the moment? Are you ready to subscribe and leave a like? If so, you're already ahead of the game. See you soon!